Hello there, time for another video. What piece of cheap tat have we got today? Well, it's a mobile phone bought from the website Joom. Joom is one of those Chinese marketplace websites like Alibaba and Banggood and Wish.com. They don't sell anything themselves. It's all sold. They simply act as a listings website for all the various manufacturers and retailers who want to sell their stuff online. And let's be honest in saying they don't have a great reputation for delivering on their promises. So anyway, this is something my wife found. They made some incredibly grand claims about the phone. We were looking for a phone for our eldest son, who's now at that age where he can kind of be trusted to have a phone of his own. So, seeing the great specs and the incredibly cheap price, we thought, why not give it a shot? We weren't expecting much, and we didn't get very much, to be honest. But anyway, here we go. It's marketed as the Mate 36. It's also, in some cases, tagged as the Mate 36 Pro. Now, Huawei, who are a legitimate mobile phone manufacturer, who do make good phones, make a line of phones called the Mate. So I suspect whoever is putting these out is trying to emulate Huawei and make you think you're buying like an unbranded Huawei before it's left the production line or something like that. And that's something a lot of these websites try to push and promote. You know, that they sort of hint at you're buying the brand name product, but it's been taken off the production line before it's had its branding applied and stuff like that. So they're not being entirely honest. But anyway, enough of me waffling on. Let's have a look at it. So they made some incredible grand claims about this phone. It's a fairly unbranded box. It did come with a set of headphones and a USB lead, but I've used them for other things. Of course, we got a European socket. Here it is. It's quite heavy. It's quite chunky. One of the things it claimed was in the specs that it had an Octa-core processor, 64 gigabytes of onboard storage, 4 gigabytes of RAM, a 16 megapixel quad camera setup on the back, and an 8 megapixel front facing camera, and also that it would have ultra high definition. Like, trying to remember what the exact specification was, but it was like let's see if I can call it up on my computer here. They don't have the specs here, but anyway, they claimed that it was 2000 by 1000 screen resolution, like up with those 300 pixels per inch sort of levels that Samsung and Apple have. A load of nonsense. Anyway, let's switch it on and have a look. It also claimed Android 9 was on it. Welcome. Looking at it, even though it is quite a big and fairly chunky device, probably weighs about what, 350 grams, it doesn't feel all that cheap, to be honest with you. It does actually feel quite well made, if big and heavy. But one of the things you noticed is that the screen is clearly not 300 pixels per inch or 2000 by 1000 resolution or whatever it is they said. You can see the pixels. I know it won't show up in the video, but yeah, it's there. So I'll just start her up, put in the pin number. Oh, as you can see, it's a bit weird. So yeah, the user interface is a bit laggy and does its own thing at times. And there we're in. Let's have a look at the drop down. Interesting. That does not look like Android 9 now, does it? That looks a bit like Android 4. And also this love camera running thing here, I'll come back to that in a bit. That's kind of creepy. So we'll go to the settings and see what the phone claims to be running. Come on. As you can tell, it's a bit laggy. Come on. There. Let's go to About Phone. Let's see what it says. Hardware. The processor hardware claims to be a MTK6763, which would be MediaTek. I have already looked that up. That is a dual core processor that was released onto the market in 2013, and even back then it was released as a budget processor for low-end smartphones. So at least they got that right. However, they do say 8-core processor, Android version 9.1, if you can see that. And it doesn't have any information about RAM. Let's see, IP address, serial number, uptime. Serial number is 0123456789 A B C D E F. So let's go back. Now, I don't believe that to be true. And there's a way of checking that. There's an application called AIDA64, AIDA. And what it does is, instead of asking the operating system what the specs are, it goes and checks for itself. I'll allow that. So let's see what it's really on this. Available memory, installed RAM 502 megabytes, hardly the 4 they said. Internal storage space available 1.3 gigabits, 1302 megabytes. Bit short of the 64 they promised, eh? Well, anyway, there you go. And basically it's all, they lied through their teeth. It's rubbish. You know, it's a terrible phone, terrible phone. Now the thing which is kind of creepy is, and I'm trying to trigger something, and this I might have to stop the video to come back to this. Let's see if this works. This Love Camera app is it's malware, and I didn't install it. The phone came and oh, I know why it's not connecting, because I have no internet out here. So, which is probably for the best, because what has happened is they've actually had adverts appearing on top of the user interface. So like the little mobile adverts you get on games and apps, they've been just appearing on top of whatever you're doing. So it's built, hard-coded and baked into the operating system. But yeah, this Love Camera app, I didn't install it, and it wasn't on the phone when I got it. And it suddenly appeared one day and was running. And I was, what's that? That's weird. So I did a bit of research. Turns out that it's a bit of malware. It's based around a suite of tools called Expensive Wall. Now, Expensive Wall isn't the name the application developers gave it. It was just something that security researchers came up with. Basically, it's a toolkit for creating malware. And long story short is, it can do a lot of bad things. It could access your camera and film you for nefarious purposes. It can inject ads into the operating system, which it's doing. It can do Bitcoin mining, and it can also send off premium SMS messages and run up your bill, and it can steal all your data. You know, it's creepy. It's creepy. And if I open into it, what happens? It takes me to the app info screen. So it doesn't actually do anything. It's just literally a weird background app, and well, it is doing something. It's making money for the developers of this. Now, some of the way they've implemented some of the security features is almost comical. Oh, let's see, come on. They talk about a fingerprint unlock here. You're going to like this. I'll try not to have the lights in the way. Fingerprint management, touchscreen fingerprint. So what I did is I'm going to use this finger that has given so many people so much pleasure, and tap like you do with a Samsung or an Apple. Finish. So in theory, I'm set up to unlock with fingerprint. So I switch it on, and I'll use this finger here. It's not doing anything, although they have cleverly put in a little sort of delay to make you think. See, if I tap it quickly, nothing, but I have to give it a second, it reacts. So they're tricking you into thinking it's actually working when it isn't. There's also supposedly face unlock on this, which I've tried it. It doesn't work. It's completely, any face will unlock it. But actually, one thing I never checked when I was back was actually what sort of screen was on this display. .480 by 960, which isn't the worst, but it certainly falls short of the 300, the claims they were making in the original advertisement. And around the back, let's switch this off, they claim to have 4 cameras here. They're not. That's real. That camera's real, but those 3 are just fake. Of course, the picture quality is terrible. The camera resolution here is 2.1 megapixels, and this one is 1 megapixel. And if I take off the back, you can see at least it has 2 SIM card slots and a memory card slot. But it talks, the battery says it's a 3,800 milliamp hour battery. That again is taking considerable liberties with the truth. I would estimate 1,000 milliamp hour at most, because if charge it to 100% and just let it sit there, the battery's gone within 5 or 6 hours and it switches off. So it's most certainly not that good. And underneath, I've got an IMEI number, 2 IMEIs for the first and second SIM card slots. Like I said, we were gonna give this. Oh, welcome! Oh, very nice. We were gonna give this to our children as their emergency phone. However, when this malware suddenly appeared, we decided not to. Like, the thing is, I don't understand is this was $41 when we bought it, and the price has actually now gone up to $62. So people are buying these, and they're popular. And I don't understand how these websites, such as Joom in this case, tolerates it. Like, if they want to be, they're not doing their reputation any good. And you can actually go and buy a fairly decent low-end smartphone from a reputable manufacturer, such as Nokia or Alcatel, and they're upfront about the specs. No, you're not getting like top of the line 8-core processors. You're probably getting a quad-core processor from 2 or 3 years ago, but you're paying anything from 70 to 100 euros or 80 to $120 thereabouts, and you're getting a phone that works and won't rip you off. The problem with Android is there's 2 parts to the whole Android ecosystem from a consumer point of view. There's the operating system itself, which is open source and free for anyone to take and modify any way they want, and that's crucial. That's how the people who made this phone was able to lie in the settings application. They just simply rewrote the underlying operating system software to lie, and it's easy done, really. It's actually not a particularly complicated task to do. A very junior developer could do it. And then the other part of Android is the Google Premium apps, and those are like the Play Store, Gmail app, the Google Drive apps, Google Maps, and all those. And those are closed source, and if you want to put them on your phone, you have to basically work with Google to be and show yourselves to be reputable and decent and not willing to rip anyone off. And that's why you only get the likes of Sony and Samsung and HTC and all the sort of good name brand manufacturers running those apps. If they're running on phones like this, then it's been installed illegally. And but like the market for these rip-off phones is so huge, I don't even know how Google could even rein it in. But there you go. So what am I saying is, yeah, be careful. You may think that cheap phone will be grand, and like, for example, this phone does run Facebook and WhatsApp. I've tested it, but I took it off. And you may think, well, I'm getting it for next to nothing. But the reality is you don't know what's running on these phones. You don't know how the operating system has been modified to suit nefarious purposes. So buyer beware. Don't cheap out. Buy a phone from a manufacturer you've actually heard of. So there you go. Take care. Bye bye.